Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those that are new here, I'm Natasha from Bright Sprout Consulting and I'm a career and life coach. My goal here on YouTube and in real life is to help you succeed in the world of work by building your confidence. Usually I do this by posting my top tips for how to make sense of the murky world of work. But other times, like today, I share my very opinionated opinions about things that are happening in the world so that it can broaden your thinking a bit. Who knows? In last week's video, I stood on my soapbox over here at my house, in my office, sharing my very opinionated opinion about the energy crisis in South Africa. If you haven't checked out that video, I would encourage you to check it out. It's great. This week, I'm going to be continuing that conversation and sharing a bit more about Eskom's history and how we are up the road, paddle, how we have ended up where we are, which is not a great place. Join me. Having learnt from all the soap operas I've watched over the many years of my life, I left you last week with a cliffhanger. I just left it there that at the end of 2007, we experienced blackouts. In October 2007 until about February 2008, Eskom did something which was a first for them. They had what they call planned power outages, which we have now come to call load shedding. Essentially what that means is they schedule for when you won't have power. Simple really. And in this way they tried to avoid a nationwide loss of power. It was a strategy that worked for them, sadly for us, because it feels like they then didn't think about what the future could look like. Because right now we are still in 2022 experiencing planned load shedding. Remember how in my last video I said that a lot of the income we generate as a country is through mining, and that mining requires a stable source of power to operate optimally? Obviously, the power outages of 2007-2008 had a massive impact on our economy as a country. In fact, our mines were closed for a week during that period. Closed, completely closed. Eskom also made a decision that they would start enforcing planned power-saving activities with their top 138 clients, the bulk of which were mines. So their plan was to kind of throttle the amount of power that goes to our mines. Again, a massive impact to a very big sector that produces money for our economy. We all know that at this point, Eskom doesn't have the infrastructure to support all the households that required electricity in terms of the government's big plan to expand. Also, the government didn't have money to give them the infrastructure to support the plan too. Can you see where this is going? In addition to all of that, their customers are not paying them. And this is a big problem because now not only are they struggling with an electrical capacity problem, they also don't have any cash flow. So what's a business to do? Eskom decided to take out some loans and to increase tariffs for those people that were paying them. So since 2007, year on year till about 2015, they've increased tariffs on average about 22% per year. Crazy. And then in 2019, Eskom boldly went to you know, the people that signs off all these tariff increases and suggested an additional 45% increase on tariffs. Madness. How are people going to afford to pay for the electricity? How? Obviously, it wasn't approved. That jump was just too big. And if you consider that South Africa has almost 50% of its citizens living in poverty, they really couldn't afford such a big increase in electrical tariffs. Between 2008 and 2014, the lights were back on. Things seemed to be working perfectly well again. Eskom kind of sucked us into a false sense of security. We all thought we were fine. We were not. Because then in late 2014, load shedding was back. As it turned out, nothing was really fixed. We were basically in the same place where they left us at the end of February in 2008. We still didn't have the infrastructure to support the amount of people that we wanted to put on the grid. And for the years that followed, we have sporadically continued to have load shedding. Up until last week, this week, last week, we still had load shedding. In addition to all of those challenges, it would actually be remiss of me to not even mention the sheer alleged corruption that took place within Eskom during that period. Enter the Guptas. The biggest scandal we faced within Eskom and many other state-owned enterprises involved a family known as the Guptas. Gupta. Who are the Guptas, you ask? The Gupta family is an Indian-born family that have many business interests within South Africa and across different industries. I mean, they played in the media, they had their own channel, ANN7. So they had that. They made computer things, Sahari, they were a computer company. They even worked in mining. Gosh, they were everywhere. They had their fingers in every pie. They were very rich too. One of the brothers was even in 2016 allegedly, supposedly, the 7th richest person in South Africa. Suspicious. I know you're probably wondering how an Indian-born family can get that involved with a state-owned enterprise. I mean, it's not like they're colluding with our president or anything. As it allegedly turns out, the Guptas were good friends with our then president, Jacob Zuma. They were personal friends and they were involved in business of some kind with him and his family. You know how last week I said that the Eskom Amendment Act changed things so that government had a bigger say in things like policy at state-owned enterprises and investments? Well, allegedly, this is how they gamed the system. Turns out that the Eskom board authorized a payment of 2.1 billion rand to the Guptas for coal that they allegedly mined out of one of their mines. Turns out they didn't own the mine and the money went directly to them and not the actual mine owners. One would think that the Eskom board would do their due diligence before they paid over such a large amount of money. One would think, right? And one would be wrong because they didn't. The payment that was made the 2.1 billion, was made to a company called Oak Bay Investments, which was owned by the Guptas, and a company that was owned by Jacob Zuma's son, allegedly. Essentially, they stole money from a state-owned enterprise that clearly could not afford to have money taken out of its coffers. It's like when you have that last Rolo and you're planning to give the Rolo to, you know, the one you love.
Favorite?
It's my last one.
Oh.
But you can have it anyway.
And then someone comes and they take it and they throw it on the floor and they smash it. Okay, that's a terrible, terrible analogy. And now I really, really need a Rolo. But you know what I mean? We couldn't afford to have that much money stolen from a state-owned enterprise that desperately needed money to survive and provide a service to the citizens of this country. Nothing much has changed since 2007. So where does it leave us? The obvious question now is, so what? Eskom's broken. What do you want me to do about it? And the obvious answer is invest in living off the grid. Invest in solar power and hydropower and wind power. All of those things can help you successfully stay online when Eskom inevitably goes down again. But that's easier said than done. It is really expensive to live off the grid. It's like veganism. Don't come for me, vegans. You know I'm right. It's expensive to be a vegan. And if I'm honest, not everyone has the financial ability to live in that way. But maybe if a few of us go off the grid, it frees up some capacity for the rest living on the grid. The truth is, I don't know what the answer is. I'm sure that if it was a simple answer, that they would have come up with it themselves, but it's not. It's a complex answer. They are a complex organization with many challenges, and deciding which challenge is the one they should face first, I think is part of their big problem. Basically, in 2 videos, all I've done is given you a rundown of who Eskom is. I'm still on my soapbox saying it's a problem, but I don't have a tangible answer for you in terms of what we can do to fix it. The only thing I can suggest is maybe turn off the lights if you are not in the room, because that'll help, I'm sure. Eskom says so. Thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. Hopefully my rant has broadened your mind a bit in terms of things that we could do differently to try and help out our failing power utility. If you have some ideas for how people could either get themselves off the grid in an affordable way, or if they can do something about how they're currently using electricity, pop it in the comment section below. We can all learn a thing or two about it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It really does help my channel. It gets my content seen by more people, so give it a thumbs up. Join me next week for another exciting video. Not sure what I'm doing yet, but join me. Should be fun. Bye.